All right, I think I'm back. Um, and I really was signing off to go and get some rest because I am exhausted. However, uh, something was sent to me, something was sent over my way that I felt very strongly convicted about what I'm about to share with you. And please be patient with me. Please give me grace because what I am about to share with you has angered me profusely. And I sometimes when I get emotional, it's hard for me to fully convey and articulate my points as clearly as I want to. So please be patient with me. But yesterday, or this may have been day before yesterday, during the Senate hearings where RFK Jr., Robert Kennedy Jr., who was the son of the former presidential candidate, assassinated candidate, RFK, the brother of President John F. Kennedy, he was in Congress and there was a Senate hearing to try and confirm him to be the head of I I I don't know, an area of the government that oversees medical vaccinations, medical science, etc. I'm tired, so again, bear with me. And I'm going to play the clip for you where he is testifying before Congress. He's asked about his views concerning Black people, some comments that he had made previously on the record on a show that he was being featured on, where he was being interviewed. And I'm gonna play this for you because what I am about to share with you is indicative of the history of white people analyzing and feeling as though they're authorized to analyze the biology of Black people, the physiology of Black people, and come to their own conclusions and determinations. And so throughout history, and I'm going to share some additional information with you too, some of which I include in my book, but can also be accessed through other pieces of literature that I've accessed that have helped inform me. But throughout our history, white people have a habit of projecting their false or corrupt, rather, or perverse impressions of who Black people are, what we represent, how we function, an incessant, rampant history of just projecting their views, their ideas, their interpretations, and then calling it science or scientific. So I want you to listen to what he says here in this clip, and we're going to watch it together. And then I'm going to expand about it or expand on why this is so dangerous and why it is diabolical. It is evil. This is pure evil what you're about to see, because he is trying to make an attempt at giving Black people a compliment and superhumanizing us. We are not superhuman. We're human beings. That's it. And so anytime someone tries to superhumanize a Black person, like, oh, Black men are so strong, Black women are so strong, that is a falsehood. That is a tainted impression. It is right out of the book of toxic positivity. It's a form of toxic positivity. We are not superhuman. We are not so strong. We are not so resilient. The type of duress, the type of genocidal terrorism that we have been under as a result of the mistreatment that we suffer throughout and across all American institutions and throughout this culture, it is debilitating. It's exhausting, which is why we die earlier in many cases, why Black women aren't able in many cases to survive pregnancy or carry babies to full term, because our nervous system is under such duress. And so when I hear comments like this, like what I'm about to share with you, it's unnerving to me. It really is. And the fact that we are dealing again with people who are psychotic, this they are psychotic. And so we can't trust anyone in this culture. We really can't, because people are dealing with Black humanity based on their own tainted, perverse, corrupt interpretations and impressions about who they think we are and what they think we represent. Okay, so let me get to it. This is RFK. He's being questioned by Senator Brooks, who is a Black woman, and she does a phenomenal job at questioning him. But so she's going to share the quotes that he stated concerning Black people. But I want you to listen to him and watch his body language and look at how he tries to justify and rationalize the views that he shared previously. Here we go.
And finally, I want to ask you, I have you said you were on a show on February 26, 2021, an interview with Dr. Judy Mikovits, where you said the following, and I quote, "We should not be giving Black people the same vaccine schedule that's given to whites because their immune system is better than ours." Can you please explain what you meant?
There's a series of studies, I think most of them by Poland, that show that to particular antigens that Blacks have a much stronger reaction. There's differences in reaction to different products by different races.
So I have 17 seconds left. Let me just ask you then. So what different vaccine schedule would you say I should have received? What different vaccine schedule should I have received?
I mean, the Pollen article suggests that Blacks need fewer antigens than
this is so dangerous.
You get the same measles vaccine.
Mr. Kennedy, with all due respect, that is so dangerous. Your voice would be a voice that parents would listen to. That is so dangerous. I will be voting against your nomination because your views are dangerous to our state and to our country.
I mean, do you think science is dangerous, Senator? This is published, peer-reviewed studies.
I yield.
Support the work that we.
All right. So first, I want to say thank you to Roland Martin for, covering this particular aspect of the hearing and making it a story. But getting back to the point of me logging back in, signing back on, rather, is that we have to understand all of this, people, in context. First of all, whenever you hear the word science coming out of a white person's mouth, you need to be on guard quickly, because white people develop their own ideas and creations about what they believe is scientific, and then they establish mass agreement. And all of a sudden, what they believe is scientific. So what he is describing about some differences in our physiological and biological makeup as Black people being different from white people, it is absolutely untrue. It is asinine, and it is evil and dangerous. And so I want us to have a look at and consider RFK within context, within a particular context. So I'm going to share some historical examples with you of what I'm talking about. And this comes right out of a lecture that I give about the history of healthcare and medicine and science in this country, and different theories that were disseminated and taught they were disseminated through different academic institutions and taught through those institutions for a few hundred years. Until really recently. And some of these, what I'm about to share with you, is still being taught. It is still being considered as a part of white medical science and research, okay? So I'm gonna share, who should I start with? I am thinking about starting with Dr. Caldwell. Charles Caldwell, maybe. Let me see. Here we go. So this is Dr. Charles Caldwell. And Dr. Charles Caldwell, who studied at the University of Pennsylvania School of Medicine, he determined that Black people's rightful place was slavery because we had less bumps on our skull. So this man espoused that he had studied a certain number of Black skulls, dead people that he had gone into their body, retrieved their skulls, versus white people's skulls. And based on his study, his research, right, and his findings, he determined that based on his review, Black people had less bumps on our skull. And so therefore, in his mind, per his thinking, we needed to be enslaved. We needed to have masters, because what that signified to him is that we were timid as a people. We needed to be given direction, and we needed to be under the auspices and the control of masters, of white people, essentially. Okay. This is Dr. John Van Every, who wrote a book called Negroes and Negro Slavery. Okay. And so again, this is the giving you some insights into the ways that white people have thought about Black people historically into the present. And this is the way they've infused these types of beliefs into the culture, and then have memorialized them formally through institutions, such as institutions that they call science or scientific, academic philosophy and theory. So this is Dr. John Van Every, right? Dr. John Van Every says, God has made the Negro an inferior being, not in most cases, but in all cases, but all white men as equal. So Dr. Van Every was considered somewhat of an anthropological expert. And so Dr. John Van Every espoused the concept that the different races were 6 distinct species, with the Caucasian superior to all others, and that any attempt to abolish slavery would result, get this, in the universal degradation and destruction of the white blood of America, with the consequent overthrow of Republican institutions and, indeed, the civilization and Christianity of the New World. What I am attempting to convey to you is that this is a culture full of malignant narcissists, people who I describe in my book as malignant, diabolical psychopaths. And so I think it's so important to understand that we are dealing with something here that is beyond dangerous, because it has been normalized. You heard him say that he pulled this information, or he got this information from a Polish study, a study that had been published in Poland that was, in his view, legit because it was peer-reviewed science. And so what does peer-reviewed science mean? It means that experts, people who think like you, who call themselves experts, who have gone through white academic institutions and have been bestowed degrees like PhDs in anthropology or PhDs in behavioral health, that they all of a sudden are the experts in the epitome to be able to determine what human behavior is, or how we should be thinking about human behavior, or how we should be thinking about people from different communities. And so not only is this in the epitome of an example of anti-Blackness, but again, these are people who are in positions of power, influence. This man is being considered to head an agency under the federal government that would control who receives vaccines, who receives treatment, what legitimate science, what is considered legitimate science, or what would be and would not be considered legitimate science. And so we have to understand this under the guise of perversity, of mental corruption, right? Of mental perversion. Okay, I'm going to share a few more examples with you This is who am I going to? Dr. Samuel Cartwright. I'll go to Dr. Samuel Cartwright. So this is, and all of what I'm sharing with you was considered scientific. It was considered peer-reviewed science. These people, the people that I am sharing with you in these examples were professors at Ivy League colleges and universities throughout the United States of America. We're talking all of them: Harvard, William and Mary College, Yale, Rutgers, the University of Pennsylvania, Columbia University, Dartmouth, right? Like these perverted and very perverse philosophies that were once considered peer-reviewed scientific, theory, they were given legitimacy through America's most prestigious institutions. And so again, Black people are not superhuman and we are not subhuman. We are only human. But if you say, as he was saying in this hearing, let's put Black people on a different vaccine schedule because, the science that I've looked at has determined that they don't need vaccines as much as white people. They have a stronger immune system. That is giving licensure to mistreat Black. It's actually given a justification to neglect Black physiology, to neglect Black humanity. So I'm just beside myself. So here's one, maybe two more examples. Again, this is Dr. Samuel Cartwright. He is noted for creating two different concepts that he theorized were also scientific. Drapetomania, which was a behavioral health condition where he asserted that any Black person desiring to free themselves from being enslaved and in bondage suffered from a mental illness. That in his view, Black people, if you treated them well enough while they were enslaved, they shouldn't want to run away at all. Cater to their needs, feed them regularly, treat them with kindness, play to their sensibilities, and they should be able to work 20, 23, 24 hours a day and be okay with that condition. And so again, this was invoked at across various different Ivy League universities and colleges throughout America. It was disseminated around the world as legitimate scientific theory, disseminated across and throughout all medical schools. Medical doctors, nurses, when they went to medical school, this is what they learned, people. This is what they were learning. Diaesthesia Ethiopica, he says that Black people scientifically are lazy, dishonest people, that he was able to prove this medically, scientifically. So I want us to be very, 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 very clear at what is happening right now. And when I say, and I write firmly and very fervently in my book, when I say that this is a culture of diabolical psychopaths, I mean it. These people are absolutely crazy where Black people are concerned, and they lack morality. They lack any type of humanity toward Black people at all whatsoever. And so that is why you have, for example, in 1946, Albert Einstein going on record at Lincoln University saying that white racism and whiteness really is a disease. White racism is a disease of white people. And I agree. I agree wholeheartedly with that statement, because when we understand what these scientific theories serve to do, not only do they serve to create a dehumanizing orientation and context whereby it gave permission for white people and all people in American culture to mistreat Black people because they now had the justification and the rationale to be able to do so. It normalized it in the context. This is what people are programmed with. This is what is working within and through people's minds concerning how they come to view, how they come to know, understand, and deal with Black people and Black humanity. And so it's not just historical. This has impacted and is still impacting the way that Black people are treated within and throughout American society as a whole, and how, especially how we get treated when we go and visit the doctor, the medical doctor. I have been supporting elderly parents for a number of years. Let me just say that. And I could tell you some things right now of things that I have experienced supporting both of my parents, going to the hospital, accompanying them to their visits, advocating for them, the ways that they are mistreated. In one instance, I won't go into too much detail, but one of the emergency room doctors, ran tests on one of my parents because he assumed, without checking her medical record, that she was so it's my mom, that she was a drug addict, okay? That my 70-plus-year-old mother was a drug addict. And he kept her in the emergency room for over 5 hours while he ran tests on her secretly, because he didn't mention to us as her family, as her children, that he was running these tests. But he ran tests for methamphetamine and cocaine and all of these variables because he perceived that she was a drug. He didn't check her medical record. Had he checked her medical record, he would have seen that my mom was ill and she had gone through some very serious complications. So yeah, anyway, but this is how we are disregarded in this society. And so again, when I quote from Dr. Bobby Wright, and I've taken a lot of heat from this from people, but I'm going to share with you what Dr. Bobby Wright was saying, and I'll try to also give, provide some nuance. And I'm not going to be too much longer because I really could go on all day about this. But Dr. Bobby Wright, if we look at what he is saying, it's so critical to understand the validity of what he is saying. If you study all the things that I've been able to look at and study on my learning and research journey. So in his papers around the psychopathic racial personality, if you don't have this little pamphlet, go to Amazon right now and get it. It's not even that expensive, I don't think, on there. Or you can even go to your local library. They may have it, I don't know. Or you can tell them to order it. But what Dr. Bobby Wright says, what he then says is in their relationship with the Black race, in the ways that white people have been programmed to think about Black people, to engage with Black people, everything that they have determined about Black people based on their limited contact, their limited understanding about who we are as a people, and their lack of interest. He says in their relationship with the Black race, whites are psychopaths. So it's very specific. This is the relationship with Black people. In white people's relationship with Black people, they are psychopathic, and their behavior represents an underlying biologically transmitted proclivity with roots deep in their evolutionary history. The psychopath is an individual who is constantly in conflict with other persons or groups. Sound familiar? He is unable to experience guilt, is completely selfish and callous, and has a total disregard for the rights of others. One of the best methods that can be used, right, RFK Jr., to measure the psychopathic traits of the white race when it comes to Black people is observing and analyzing their universal overt behaviors and attitudes and what they have to say about Black people. He's saying all you have to do is listen and watch and observe. What has the evidence been showing us? What does the evidence tell us about the way that we're treated, about the way that they see us, about the things that they say about us? Dr. Wright then goes on to say psychopaths simply ignore the concept of right and wrong. Doesn't matter. There's no concept of right and wrong when it comes to immoral people. By ignoring this trait in the white race, the lack of ethical and moral development Blacks have made, he's talking about us now, Black people have made, and are still making a tragic mistake in trusting white institutions, in trusting white people, in thinking that at some point they're going to see us differently or regard our full humanity. He says Black people are making a tragic mistake, have made and are making a tragic mistake in basing Black liberation, the Black liberation movement, the inclusion movement, right, on moral suasion. He's saying that white people cannot be morally swayed. They're immoral when it comes to you, Black person. He says it is pathological for Black people to keep attempting to use moral suasion on a people who have no morality, where race is the variable. So when we hear RFK, when we see and hear him say that Black people don't need vaccines as much as white people do, it is an attempt to superhumanize us, to be able to dehumanize us and degrade us. And I need us to understand that. I'm going to go on. So around the psychopathic racial personality, this came out in 1974. Dr. Wright analyzed the behavior of white people, of European Americans toward African American people through the lens of psychopathy. He was a psychologist, and he proposed that the historical and ongoing mistreatment of African Americans by white people is not simply a matter of prejudice or ignorance, but it is indicative of a deep-seated psychological condition, malfunction. Key characteristics. Dr. Wright argued that the defining traits of the psychopathic racial personality include an absence of empathy, a disregard for the humanity of others, deceitfulness, and a persistent pattern of exploiting and oppressing African Americans. The cultural and social implications. Dr. Wright's work highlights the persistent nature of racial oppression, suggesting that it is ingrained in the collective behavior of white people that perpetuates inequality for its own benefit. He viewed this as a critical factor in the ongoing struggles faced by African Americans and called for a deeper understanding of these dynamics to effectively address racial disparities. Dr. Bobby Wright's ideas challenged conventional psychological theories and placed a spotlight on the role of systemic and systematic racism in shaping societal structures and individual behaviors. His work is often seen as a call to recognize and combat the psychological warfare faced by African Americans and to foster a deeper sense of self-awareness and collective identity. Dr. Wright's analysis provides a framework for understanding the mental health effects of systemic oppression in the people who are doing it, right? And their lack of morality, their lack of humanity, and underscores the importance of cultural and psychological resilience in the face of racial adversity. And so in my book, I am introducing this term, malignant diabolical psychopathy, okay? Malignant diabolical psychopathy, collective group disorder upon which a white hegemonic society exhibits systematic ill will, intentional systematic ill will or hatred toward non-white people, especially Black individuals, spread with extreme cruelty or wicked tactics of destruction, showing no empathy or remorse, but it is exhibited as a normal thought process. This term expresses the combination of several mental health disorders to explain the unbridled viciousness toward others that include psychological, physical, and behavioral techniques to create an atmosphere of terror among the powerless, thus to keep power to select few, which is usually white men. And so I want to say to you, to those who follow me, to those who follow my work, thank you so much. Please get this book. And if you, by any chance, can attend any of the upcoming events that I have going on my website, you can go to danteking.com and go to the events. Please join me at these events. There are free events that I have. Sometimes I host community-focused conversations. And I'm going to start most likely doing that a little bit more if I have the time. Actually, I'm going to commit to doing that because I really feel like I want to create a container and a space for Black people and allies of Black people to come together and start exploring and having dialogue about this and what we can do that is within our influence and in our power, in our immediate circle or sphere of influence, to help protect Black people, young Black children, and Black adults, because we are under cultural warfare, under psychological warfare, and institutional warfare. American institutions, white American institutions, have always waged war against African Americans, and more of that is happening faster than we can even calculate in this moment. And so I just don't even know what more to say about this and what to do, because it is beyond disturbing. I was laying down to try to get a nap and accidentally clicked on this link. Again, I had saw part of it last night, but clicked on it again, and it just sent my blood boiling throughout my entire body. So please join me. Please join one of the live book launch events that's planned for next week. Go to DanteKing.com and go to the events page and sign up and spread the word to your friends and family members and tell them to sign up. Please, please, please get this book and share it with as many people as you possibly can. I just don't even know what to say, y'all. It is angering. It is so angering and so upsetting. And to be under the control, the institutions that these people control in a culture where we are just under attack. We are under attack and there's no escape. And that's the sad part about all of this. Yeah, I don't want to make myself sick, but I can feel myself becoming very, very, very emotional. Anyway, I will see you next week for all the live launches. I love you again. Take care of yourself. And every time you watch one of these Trump-appointed people and Donald Trump himself, just know that you're looking at a malignant narcissist and a diabolical psychopath.